Coming up on MilCyberSync, a first for the Department of Homeland Security has proven fruitful. More on their Hack DHS program.
Also ahead, Russia's finding itself in the crosshairs of an ally.
And a mobile giant's network has been breached. So get ready to get in sync with MilCyberSync.
You're watching the MilCyberSync Weekly News with your host, Nick Thomas, and news anchor, Layla Gulen.
Hello and welcome to the MilCyberSync Podcast, reporting on the latest events happening in cyber news. I'm Layla Gulen with your host, Mr. Nick Thomas. Great to see you.
Good to see you, Layla. How are you doing today?
Doing just great.
Hey, I wanted to say the latest HammerCon first annual is coming up. Remember, that's the National Convention of the Military Cyber Professional Association. So want to make sure you go out there and get your tickets at hammercon.org. We're going to have fun events like Hacker Jeopardy, Capture the Flag, and just a lot of fun and tech coming out. So come on out and have some fun.
Absolutely. Get your tickets. All right, well, a recent summit earlier this month brought together senior leaders from around the U.S. Cyber Command to discuss the future of cyber operations, evolving capabilities, and deeper integration. The gathering brought together reserve component leadership and service cyber component commanders to highlight current contributions, challenges, and strategies within the cyber environment. Roundtable discussions covered three topics: increasing reserve component cyber capacity capabilities, operations in the information environment, and intelligence operations relating to cyber. Well, the joint partnership has already proven successful, as demonstrated in the 2020 elections. The total force, along with NSA, secured critical infrastructure against attacks in more than 24 operations. Nick.
U.S. Army officials say they're making progress in the development and rollout of upgraded network technology and tools. The Army has nearly finished outfitting its 7th Brigade combat team with gear associated with Capability Set 21, the first in a series of compounding 2-year improvements informed by industry and soldiers. 9 teams are expecting the upgrades. Capability Set 21 focuses on infantry brigades, increased connectivity, and making communications gear smaller, lighter, faster, and more flexible. Capability Set 23 will focus on strikers, a boosted bandwidth, and additional paths for communication, among other goals. Layla?
Well, the Department of Homeland Security announced 450 researchers working in its first ever Hack the DHS bug bounty program identified at least 122 vulnerabilities. Launched in December, the program had vetted security researchers and ethical hackers to probe select external DHS systems for vulnerabilities, with the potential to receive up to $5,000 for their fines. According to DHS, the agency awarded $125,600 to researchers in the first of what will be a 3-phase program that aims to better inform federal agencies and other public sector organizations about the pros and cons of bug bounty programs. Of the 122 vulnerabilities discovered, 27 were considered critical. Nick.
Well, the Hack DHS program was announced last December, and it was launched several years after lawmakers passed a bill to create such a program. In the next phase of Hack DHS, participants will take part in a live in-person hacking event. In the third and final phase, the DHS will identify lessons learned. In addition to helping the DHS identify security flaws in its systems, the goal of the program is to help U.S. government develop a bug bounty program model that can be used by other agencies to increase the resilience to cyber threats. The U.S. government has been running bug bounty programs since 2016, including Hack the Pentagon, Hack the Army, Hack the Air Force, Hack the Marine Corps, and Hack the Defense Travel System. Participants discovered thousands of vulnerabilities in government systems, earning roughly $1 million. Layla?
Well, U.S. Telecom has asked the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, to connect its landmark cybersecurity framework to performance goals set by the Biden administration. The wide-ranging public-private partnership will focus on identifying tools and guidance for technology developers and providers, as well as performance-oriented guidance for those acquiring such technology. Congress is also now considering how the government might apply performance goals or standards in managing the security of commercial information and communications technology, a category that often includes major ISPs and cloud service providers. Nick.
More than ever before, the U.S. DIB or defense industrial-based companies handle sensitive information that makes them targets for adversary countries. Russian intelligence agencies have been particularly active, but also the People's Republic of China are among those that want to steal secrets or degrade the U.S.'s defenses. These defenses include DHS's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, the FBI, and the Defense Cybercrime Center. In an open letter, Morgan Adamski, the director of the Cybersecurity Collaboration Center for NSA Cybersecurity, says for collaboration to be effective, it should involve two-way sharing of technical data during an ongoing cyber event. She says it can involve bringing some of the world's foremost experts in cybersecurity together to identify how different data sources can identify, track, and thwart malicious cyber actors. It can even involve detailed conversations with senior executives about how we can ensure that the next generation of technology is secure by design. Layla?
South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace is calling on Congress to set standards to protect data against quantum technology in the future. Along with two other House lawmakers, they introduced bipartisan legislation called the Quantum Computing Cybersecurity Preparedness Act, aimed at preparing the federal government's networks for a large-scale shift in post-quantum cryptography standards. The legislators follow large-scale hacks on critical U.S. infrastructure, such as the SolarWinds and the Colonial Pipeline, and promotes preemptive steps to protect networks from hackers using powerful quantum algorithms to access data stored on conventional computer systems. Some agencies, like the Department of Homeland Security, have already taken steps similar to the bill by issuing roadmaps to fortify computer networks against quantum algorithmic hacking. Nick.
A former Lyft and Dropbox machine learning expert will soon lead efforts to accelerate, align, and harness data, analytics, and artificial intelligence at the Department of Defense. Dr. Craig Martell has been announced as the department's first Chief Digital and AI Officer, a position that was unveiled late last year and is still being fleshed out. Martell also worked at LinkedIn, where he led a number of AI teams and initiatives. Before that, he was a tenured computer science professor at the Naval Postgraduate School. The department had been looking both inside and outside the Pentagon to fill the role. Layla?
Well, hundreds of cyber attacks reported by a handful of hackers against Ukraine since Russia's invasion was reported by Microsoft this week. The tech giant says these hybrid warfare tactics coincided with military assaults on the battlefield. Microsoft says it had tracked almost 40 destructive cyber attacks aimed at hundreds of systems. A third of the attacks directly targeted Ukrainian government organizations at all levels, while another 40% had gone after critical infrastructure. Well, despite the high number, Microsoft says it's likely the attacks observed are only a fraction of activity targeting Ukraine. Nick.
A China-linked state-sponsored cyber espionage group has started targeting the Russian military in recent attacks. Tracked as Mustang Panda, Bronze President Red Delta and TA-416, the government-backed hacking group, previously focused mainly on the Southeast Asian region, with some attacks targeting Europe and the United States. Over the past several months, however, in line with the escalating tensions between Russia and Ukraine, Mustang Panda switched to targeting European diplomats with an updated variant of the Plug X backdoor. When launched, the malicious file fetches 4 files from a staging server, including a decoy document, a legitimate executable from UK-based Global Graphics Software Limited, a malicious DLL downloader, and an encrypted payload, which the researchers believe is the Plug X malware. Once installed, attackers can harvest and exfiltrate sensitive information, download and upload files, and of course execute a remote command shell. Layla?
Well, we've got more to come. Ransomware is surging. We'll explain why after the break.
Today's network and security monitoring solutions are vulnerable to overload situations that lead to decreased visibility and undetected intrusions. Monitoring applications require hardware to keep up with real-time traffic analysis, making it complex and costly. Your security monitoring solutions may be unable to keep up during cyber attacks or traffic spikes, making intrusion more likely. A new approach is needed to increase network protection and visibility. Excelio simplifies and streamlines your network monitoring for critical security, network, and application analysis. Learn more at excelio.com.
Welcome back. Ransomware attacks have been storming back after experiencing their typical end-of-the-year decline. So far this year, ransomware victims surged from 185 to 283. Lockbit 2.0 was the most prolific, accounting for 96 of the 283 attacks, followed by Conti with 71 attacks, Hive with 26 attacks, and Black Cat with 23 attacks. Not all ransomware groups run data leak sites where they attempt to name and shame victims or threaten to leak stolen data, which are double extortion tactics. When groups do have a data leak site, they rarely list every last victim. Cybersecurity firm Group IB estimates that only 13% of a ransomware group's victims get listed. However, an explanation for the recent surge is that the attacks proved to be lucrative. A new study reports a large number of organizations admit to having paid a ransom after getting infected with ransomware. Layla?
T-Mobile has confirmed that the Lapsus ransomware group has breached its internal network. An information security blogger who received a copy of the private chat messages between members of the cybercrime group before the arrest of its most active members last month. The chat shows Lapsus breached T-Mobile several times and stole source code for a range of company projects. The breach was detected through monitoring tools and found a bad actor used stolen credentials to access internal systems that house operational tools software. The mobile giant says hackers did not steal any sensitive customer or government information during the incident. Nick.
Well, this wasn't the first time. The Washington-based telecommunications giant fell victim to another data breach early this year that was linked to a SIM swapping attack that it said affected a very small number of its 105 million customers. T-Mobile says their systems and processes quickly shut down the intrusion, and any compromised credentials used were rendered obsolete. Lapsus operates only on its Telegram chat channel that has close to 60,000 followers. Although inactive on that channel since late March, the notorious group uses its channel to leak huge volumes of sensitive data stolen from victims. Layla?
Well, T-Mobile is just one high-profile victim of the Lapsus hacker group. The gang has targeted several major companies, in many cases leaking large amounts of source code and other data stolen from their systems. Previously known victims include Globant, Microsoft, Okta, Samsung, and Vodafone. Based on the available information, the hackers typically relied on unsophisticated methods to gain access to victim systems. This includes acquiring access from cybercrime marketplaces and offering money to insiders. They then stole data and threatened to leak it unless the targeted organization paid a ransom. They also apparently gained access to an internal customer account management tool, which could be used to conduct SIM swapping. Nick.
Coca-Cola is investigating reports of a data breach after a ransomware group claimed to have stolen documents from the beverage giant. The Stormus ransomware group claimed that it stole 161 gigabytes of data from Coca-Cola and has been trying to sell it. The group is offering the stolen data for about $64,000. The operators behind the ransomware group made waves earlier this year after being one of the few to announce full support for the Russian government during the invasion of Ukraine. Coca-Cola was one of the biggest companies in the world to announce it was pulling out of that situation. Coca-Cola has already contacted law enforcement about the incident. Layla?
The American Dental Association allegedly has been hit with an attack by a new ransomware group called Black Basta. The ADA is the latest medical professional organization dealing with the cyber incident, disrupting services and potentially affecting members' information. The cybersecurity incident was discovered last Friday, causing a disruption to certain systems, including membership services software, email, telephone, and web chat. The allegedly affected ADA data includes W-2 forms, accounting spreadsheets, and information on ADA members from screenshots shared on the data leak page. The ADA says it has notified federal law enforcement authorities and is cooperating in an active investigation. Nick.
An Iranian cyber espionage group has begun exploiting a recently patched critical vulnerability in VMware Workspace, One Access Identity Manager technology. Tracked as Rocket Kitten, the hack delivers the core impact penetration testing tool on vulnerable systems. VMware identified the RCE vulnerability as a server-side template injection issue that could be used for remote code execution. The software vendor assigned it a severity ranking of 9.8 on a scale of 10 because the flaw, among other things, allows attackers to gain the highest privileged access in compromised environments. Days after the flaw was disclosed, proof of exploit code for it became publicly available on Twitter. Shortly thereafter, threat actors reportedly began attacking the flaw to install cryptocurrency coin miners on vulnerable servers. Layla?
Well, the FBI is sounding the alarm on the Black Hat ransomware as a service, which it said victimized at least 60 entities worldwide since its emergence last November. Also called Alpha V and Noberus, the malware is notable for being the first ever ransomware written in the Rust programming language, which is known to be memory safe and offer improved performance. The disclosure comes weeks after twin reports from Cisco, Talos, and Kaspersky uncovered links between Black Hat and Black Matter ransomware families, including the use of a modified version of a data exfiltration tool. The law enforcement agency recommends victims to promptly report ransomware incidents. It also encourages paying ransoms, as there is no guarantee that this will enable the recovery of encrypted files. But it did acknowledge that victims may be compelled to heed such demands to protect shareholders, employees, and customers. Nick.
Looking for some money? The U.S. Department of State is offering a reward of up to $10 million for information on the attackers behind the June 2017 NotPetya cyber attacks. NotPetya malware affects tens of thousands of systems around the world, causing billions of dollars in damage. Global companies including Merck, FedEx, and Nuance Communications reported losing hundreds of millions of dollars due to the attack. NotPetya was attributed to Russia by several governments in 2018, and a grand jury indicted the 6 Russian officers for conducting cyber attacks back in October 2020. So there's your lottery ticket, Layla, the $10 million.
Yes, I'm going to go out right now and get it. All right. Well, finally, Tenable has agreed to purchase startup BitDiscovery for $44.5 million to help organizations discover, attribute, and monitor assets on the internet. The Maryland-based vulnerability management vendor said its proposed acquisition of BitDiscovery out of California to allow Tenable to identify vulnerable internet-facing assets that could be attacked. They say most organizations have no idea what their internet-facing corporate footprint looks like, especially at large enterprises such as Disney. BitDiscovery can spot not only corporate websites, but also other assets such as OT devices. The company plans to integrate BitDiscovery's automated attack surface discovery capability into Tenable products at no additional cost. Well, that's going to do it for us. On behalf of Nick and myself, thank you so much for watching. You're now in sync with MilCyberSync. We'll see you again next week.